Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about role-playing games. It could be Dungeons and Dragons, could be Pathfinder, could be anything you're playing. Really, it doesn't matter. But ultimately, in the end, what we're coming down to is villain lair actions. Now, whether you call that villain lair actions or monster lair actions or legendary monster lair actions, I don't mind. It's really not my concern. Really, what we're trying to do is cover what that concept is, how to use it, how to implement it into our game. And it doesn't have to be just Dungeons and Dragons. So lair actions are reserved for epic creatures, boss monsters, villains, and legendary beasts. So why use lair actions? Well, to make a fight in a villain's lair dynamic by using the environment and the terrain around them. A master villain or a boss monster can manipulate the ambient magic in the area or mechanisms in the lair and that are part of that environment. To ensure that a lair can effectively do something in a battle, it's important that the turn order represent it very, very early on. It will work best if it takes place first. This is why often you'll see in Dungeons & Dragons 5e, the lair action sits about 20 in the initiative order. Now, you don't have to have it be 20, but you could simply just make it the first thing that happens. Lair actions help combat some of the issues that Dungeons & Dragons and role-playing game monster action economy has always had. And that is, as soon as you have a solo monster and it's in a lair, it probably doesn't have enough actions. So lair actions are here to actually help alleviate that problem. Lair actions might be shut down by stunning or paralyzing or subduing the villain or the boss creature, but they might not. A range of different lair actions provides a variety of different things you can do in that environment so it doesn't get boring, but it also avoids using the optimal action out of the selection of 2 to 4 that you might have being used repeatedly over and over again, because we don't want to do that. We don't want to just use the one thing that seems to be the most optimal in that situation. We want to give them a variety of different things. We're representing the environment. Lair actions can be spell effects, they can be traps, they can be environmental hazards, all sorts of things like that. Now, the first type of lair action gives a creature or a villain or a boss monster advantage, say, on attack rolls in some way, or ability checks, or skill checks, or saving throws until the next turn, or possibly longer, depending on what you're trying to do here. Now, the second type of lair action is it gives an area effect that has a chance to include the whole party of player characters. This means that whatever the lair is trying to do is actually global in its effect. Now, the third type of lair action can also cause damage depending on the lair's environment. Now, that might be damage to just the player characters, that might be to anything in that area. Potentially, lair actions can also include the representation of a spell effect or transform the environment of that battle completely. You might go from a rocky terrain area to a glass-covered area. Lair terrain offers interesting environments to interact with. This is what you're trying to do. It's representing, we have an environment, we want the environment to be able to do something, and we want you to be able to interact with it in some way. And this is a way of the environment being able to be interacted with, but also reacting back to you. Now, regional effects end quickly. Now, a regional effect is not quite the same thing as a lair action. Regional effects can end quite quickly, or they might end over a period of time when the villain or the legendary creature dies. But they don't have to. Okay, they might end as soon as the creature dies, they stop. Regional effect. And they're quite wide. Their scope is much larger than the legendary action. But they might take days or even weeks to finally dissipate. And then finally, they may never stop because the region, it's intrinsic to the region and the environment that you're dealing with. Regional effects are different from lair actions because they don't consciously require the villain or the boss monster to put them into place. The concept behind the lair action is there has to be a conscious choice by your boss monster or your villain to utilize a lair action, whereas a regional effect doesn't work this way. So if you're looking at your environment and you're trying to figure out how to make it more dynamic, lair actions are a really good way of making that work. I hope this was useful to you, and if it was, fantastic. I want to thank you for watching and listening. I want to thank my patrons who support me so I can keep doing this sort of thing. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.